I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your cattle market summary for the week ending June the 10th. If you look at your CME cattle futures this week, they traveled a long ways but didn't really go very far. It was just very volatile within a very narrow range, and within days it would be over $2 higher and then travel maybe $4 or $5 the other direction and back and forth, and on each side is steady, but really didn't do a whole lot for the week. Just kind of treading sideways. It really gave the cash market an opportunity to do something, but it didn't take advantage of it. But if you look at your live cattle futures on the August contract, ended the week at 117.35, which was down just 45 cents for the week. And a lot of people thought that this thing was overbought and was really going to take a tumble this week, but it didn't. It was kind of down hard early in the week. I say hard, it didn't close that much lower. It was so volatile within the day's trading. It was up later in the week, and then on Friday had kind of a sell-off there. But you look at your spot market on June, it's 122.45 at the end of the week there, and starting to close that basis gap a little bit, but still, about $4 for these guys to put in their pockets, maybe 5 or 6 in some spots. But they always come together, and it's going to come together like it always does. Look at your feeder cattle futures on August contract, ended the week at 145.55, which was down $1.12 for the week. Your CME cash feeder cattle index ended the week on a higher note, just kept gaining ground there at 148.91. Your real-time index on Cattle Market Central and Beef Market Central does not include all those direct sales that got dumped in there on Friday. It's trading some lower but a little more realistic at 147.33, and that CME cash feeder cattle index should be coming down a little bit in the coming days once trade starts up again this coming week. But your fat cattle trade was incomplete unless we see some trade there late Friday or over the weekend that nobody knew about. Just a little bit of trade there middle of the week and a little bit of trade at the end of the week, but nothing really set in stone. These feedlots have been fairly secretive about what they've been doing this week. Not real proud of where they're trading cattle. Last week it was sharply higher, gaining a lot of ground there last week, kind of unexpectedly, and the packers had kind of tipped their hand, letting them know that they need some cattle. They've been killing a lot of cattle, they've been selling a lot of meat and making a lot of money, and really needed to buy some cattle. And so you thought this week maybe the feedlots would get some traction and maybe start to put a little bit more of a market position in this thing, because we know we're going to have a sell-off here when we get in the dog days of summer. We know this market's going to get lower. We're headed for some tough days ahead. Why not get all the market position you can get between now and then? But more of them, the feedlots just decided to put off the losses that they're going to incur in the next few weeks. So the Southern Plains sold cattle at 126 and 127 for 2 to 3, 4 weeks out, which we talked about that in our previous sessions, how that just gives all the leverage to the packers. It's really not good for the market, the people that are trying to trade negotiated basis. They sold some current sales at 128, a few around midweek, and that would have been steady, but really kind of a downer there. Later in the week, the Northern Plains traded some cattle. They had a string of cattle. Like I said, most all this coming through mandatory reporting because nobody really wants to tell what they've done. But Nebraska traded a string of cattle at 126, and that would have been quite a bit lower. And then some dress sales from 205 to 210. Actually, the dress sales would have been a little better because last week the bulk of the dress trade was at 206. So those higher dress sales, but not so much on the live basis there, because everybody's just wanting to put off what's coming down the road, and they think that there would be a lot of fun here in about 3 or 4 weeks to be selling cattle at today's market and watching their neighbor feedlots have to take a whole lot less money. Well, it's kind of a dog-eat-dog world out there, and selling those cattle out ahead, that just brings that on quicker. But what's funny is your Iowa guys, we always talk about them. Most of them are independent farmer feeders for the most part. They actually outsold the commercial feedlots this week. They sold some cattle on Friday there from 128 to 133, which a lot of that would be mostly higher. Trading cattle last week, a lot of them around 130, but Iowa guys, you know, don't have near the contacts. They don't have near the cattle to sell, but they outsold the guys because they weren't worried about selling cattle out front. A lot of them only have a pen of cattle ready every few months or something like that. They don't have cattle to sell every week. They don't have to put a show list together every week, so they weren't concerned about what they were going to do 2 or 3 weeks down the road. They wanted to get all they could get for the cattle that they had on hand right now, and they ended up outselling these commercial lots, and I thought that was good. But your dress sales in the Iowa region were also 207 to 210, so all higher there in the dress sales in Iowa. The slaughter last week was 591,000, which is a strong slaughter week there, awfully close to 600,000. That's kind of a threshold, a big week there. But right at the end of a holiday week there, it was hard to make a comparison because a year ago this past week was the holiday week, so it was really hard to gauge there. Your actual weights, steer weights on actual slaughter there went down again, down 3 pounds from the previous week there at 859 pounds. So that's good. Things are pretty current, and you see that they've been selling cattle right along, and the packers really were staving off a pretty good wreck. These packers are having to come to get the cattle. It's just that the feedlots aren't taking full advantage of that. But you know, we could be making hay right now. A lot of people are putting up hay, and we could be making hay in the cattle market if they just kind of use their head and use the leverage that they have right now. But a lot of them don't realize that they have it, and even though we had a sideways trade on the board, it was supportive for the cash market to make some more ground this week. It just seems like everybody's waiting for this big drop off, and the more they think it's going to happen, the more it's going to happen. It is going to happen here probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Box beef cutout values gained ground this week. Everybody thought, you know, post-holiday and all the Father's Day buying is already done now, thought that this box beef cutout values would drop off big time. No, they gained a little bit more ground this week. And your average weekly sales choice was at $225.60. That was up $320 from the previous week. And dress sales, there's getting to be a huge gap in there, about $24. $201.79 on a select cutouts there, up $121. Your cash feeder cattle market this week, $1 to $3 higher. I know we saw a lot more gains than that on your Monday markets. That's because they didn't have a comparison for the previous week because of that Memorial Day. And that $3 to $8, $6 to $8 higher that you saw on Monday wasn't really this week's market. This week's market, well, you saw in the middle of the week there and some big sales compared to their same sale last week. It was $1 to $3 higher. Look at an individual quote there out of Torrington Livestock Markets in Torrington, Wyoming. Friday afternoon about 2 o'clock, big string of yearlings there, 247 head of steers, weighed 861 at 153. From my DV Auction home office here in Canyon, Texas, we'll talk to you next week.